We had a wild Sunday night of baseball activity. A lot of great games. Aaron Judge and Juan Soto went crazy on the Giants. There were about 3 moves in the last hour before FAAB that were big news. We got a lot to talk about tonight. All coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday night, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We are sponsored by Prize Picks. We appreciate their sponsorship on the podcast. If you could please rate and review the podcast, that's help us out a lot too. It's Sunday night. I'm Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sundays by Jeff Erickson. I'm playing at about 70% under the weather right now, so you have to hang with me if I happen to cough a couple times. I apologize for that, but we're going to power through this. Jeff, how are you on this Sunday night? It's June. It's baseball summer.
Yeah, it is. Busy day, and it's watching a lot of baseball, both pro and college. It was a good day. I was, stayed home and got a lot of work done and watched a lot of baseball. It was good.
That's a good day right there. It's we were talking a little bit before, but this time of year for college baseball is really fun. The regionals and super regionals. I think I like the super regionals the most because you still get that like college home game atmosphere. But Omaha's great too. But I love the super regionals.
Yeah, I like this weekend. I think yesterday is like one of the best days. It's like, there's some pressure for some people to, for some teams just to stay alive. Others, you get that second win, you've got like an 80% chance of getting the super regionals.
Yeah, double elimination. If you lose any time in this particular game, is just so hard to get back.
Yep, exactly.
But we had a lot happen right before the deadline. Let's just jump into that real quick. We might as well. Yep. There was a lot of news. Detroit Tigers sending Spencer Torkelson down to AAA. I'm not surprised based on how his season has gone. I was a little surprised based on the fact that his season last year wasn't that much different. He was pretty bad the first couple months, and he caught fire. So I thought maybe they'd hold on a little bit to see, maybe he's a second half guy. Maybe he'll pick it up. But maybe the thought is, get him down and get him worked out in AAA. But I was a little bit surprised that he got sent down today.
I am too. I am a little bit because it's not like they didn't send down Keith, did they? I don't think they did.
No, he's been really good in May.
Yeah, he's picked it back up. They were patient with him. But I guess, 2 months is enough of an amount of time that I'm kind of like, it's you got to do something there. And I get it. I get why they do it because there's still a chance to remain in touch in the wild card if you're Detroit, right? But it's getting late. The fact that Gio Urshela started today should have been our sign. Little hint that they were going to do this.
Yeah. I think he sat 2 of the last 3 games too.
Yeah. And what are you doing if he's not going to play? Right. And so I get it, but man, it's pretty wild to see. But I mean, at the same time, Torkelson's given really no reason to kind of think that he's turning it around. Yeah. In fact, he's striking out even more. Yesterday, 0 for 4, 2 Ks. On Thursday, 0 for 4, 3 Ks. It's just, what else are you going to do at this point in time?
Yeah, he's been a mess. Bart Perry in the chat noted somewhere he read that they're going to have specific swing mechanics that Torque is working on in AAA. So maybe this is a business trip where they actually have to say some things they want to work with him on. But it's a good point on Colt Keith because they were really patient. He had a 12 WRC plus in April and then 151 in May. So they were patient with him. But I guess you're right. 2 months is different than 1. Fantasy wise, Spencer Torkelson was obviously rostered just about everywhere. Drop for sure in 12s, maybe in 15s. How do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, I scrambled as soon as I heard the news. Do I have Torque anywhere there in like an NFBC platform or other managed platforms? The answer was no. I have him like in a score sheet league where there's no action. He just doesn't accrue stats. You can pick up players like on monthly supplementals, but there's no like immediate action there. So just all we did was just move on there. And, you hope you have another first baseman. Good luck finding a first baseman now too. You remember how copious they were at the draft table?
Awful. Oh, it's impossible to find a first baseman. I'm adding the dregs of baseball. It's brutal out there in first base.
Yeah. If you can afford a stash, I'd consider buying low on Torque right now when someone drops them like you did, because let's face it, it's hard to keep and tie up that roster spot. You got 3 or 4 other injuries. You want to try to speculate on a pitcher. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I had him in the online championship 12 team. I thought it was a pretty easy drop there. The stats are pretty replaceable there. Mm-hmm. I also had in a 15 teamer in the auction I did in Vegas. I ended up dropping him there. I have a couple other guys in the IL. Needed a corner, needed someone to play right away, so I dropped him there. I mean, I was picking up Elleris, Montero, and Gio Urshela is kind of the names I was looking at. So it was it was tough to stomach, but getting Torks 0 for 16 every week on my lineup will probably just help the batting average more than anything.
Yeah. Paul Sporer asks, Jose Abreu, anybody? He who got pinch hit for late in the game was 0 for 2 with a walk today. He's hitting 116 on season. No, I did not go after Jose Abreu. I mean,
he was in my list, but he was like 6th.
Yeah, I made Tim remove him from our waterfall. I couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. And maybe I'll be wrong about that. But then again, the thing is, we wanted someone that's corner eligible, just because we've kind of run out of those this weekend, and yet we ended up picking up an outfielder anyhow because we're really smart.
I had to just outfielders I wanted to pick up. I had to force myself to pick up corners. It was rough. What do you think about the guy that Detroit has called up for Torkelson? Justin Henry Malloy, hitting 255 in AAA so far this year, 6 home runs, 3 steals, 412 OBP. He is a patience guy. His walk rates are insane. If you look across the minors, 20% this year, 18% in AAA last year. He had 23 home runs last year. He's kind of an intriguing guy here. He's someone that walks a lot, has some pop. A few stolen bases here. He could be interesting. He was not available in NFBC leagues unless he somehow got picked up and dropped, but that was probably a rare occurrence. I didn't see that anywhere. But an interesting guy to watch this week. We'll get a whole week of watching games, see how they use him, see what they do here. But he's an interesting little prospect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, his on base is great. I wonder if that translates. But we'll see. I'd like to see some category juices. Our friend Scott Pianowski likes to call it there.
Yeah, it's he's more interesting in real baseball than probably fantasy baseball at the moment.
Yeah, he's only 24, but this is also his third part of a third season in AAA. I mean, he had 8 games in 2022, so it's really 2 seasons in AAA. But he doesn't run much, and last year he hit for some power. This year he isn't hitting for a whole lot of power. 15 doubles and 6 homers. That's better than I thought, actually. He could be interesting. I retract. We'll see. Thing is, we get a runway to watch him. And that'll be interesting. Yeah,
I'm taking the runway to watch him for sure. I think he's third base eligible. Would be an NFBC. I haven't looked yet, but that's probably looking at. And then the Twins tonight. It sounds like it was rumors and speculation, but it was from beat writers. It sounded like Edouard Julien he was packing up his stuff, was talking to coaches in the locker room, made it seem like he's the one that's going to be going out when they call up Royce, or they activate Royce Lewis on Tuesday.
Right.
So I dropped Julien too. I mean, he's been rough too. Obviously, had a fun year last year, but he's striking out a lot right now. A little bit of pop, but I had to drop him. He's just another guy that I couldn't stomach having in AAA. He's not been good enough to hold, I don't think.
I think it's kind of perfect that we're talking about Julien right after we talked about Malloy. He's known for his on-base skills, which are great and they're awesome, but at some point you got to hit the ball. Yeah. And that's really what happened with Julien. He's just not having a good run at the plate. Hitting 210. There's this pressure here. Jose Miranda is hitting. He batted third today, hit a home run that put them ahead today. Big hit there. If anybody's going to lose time, it shouldn't be Miranda. It should be like Carlos Santana, or, they're going to do some moving around with some people there. But Julien is sitting against every lefty anyhow. And in-game platooning, sometimes they do too. Twins are really fun that way when you're trying to figure out playing time.
Yeah, Paul Sporer mentioned the chat, the Julien news. It hadn't been official by the Twins yet. There was just a lot of the 3 or 4 tweets from the beat writers about it. It looked like he was to be the one that, based on the reaction to everything in the locker room. So I just kind of had to act on that.
He's striking out a ton too, by the way.
He was 34%. Hard hit rate's under 40%. So the barrel rate's pretty good, 12% when he does get when he gets it. But 7 home runs, 6 steals is not killing you there. But 17 RBIs, hitting 210. It was a rough start to the season.
Yeah, Bart Perry says it's official now. Peter S says Kyle Farmer should have been DFA'd.
Yeah,
he's got a point there. Yeah, it's true. But maybe they just like Farmer's defensive flexibility there.
Yeah, maybe they just want Julien to go get some at bats every day in AAA and just kind of figure himself out a little bit. That's definitely a possibility there too.
I see the value of the deep counts, but he's actually got to hit the ball at some point in time too, and I think that's the problem. 309 isn't going to kill you OBP wise, but it's really the benefit.
Not going to help you either.
Yeah. So he's got to do something else. There you go. So yeah, but that stinks to try to place a second baseman almost as bad as one of these corners we're talking about there. It stinks to replace anything really.
It's a tough time of year to replace any kind of infielder at the moment. Excuse my voice. And then the third piece of news, the Pirates calling up Henry Davis, the former number 1 overall pick, who was up early this year, really struggled, hit 162, has been doing really well recently in AAA, getting called back up there. And, most importantly with Davis is catcher eligibility. So we've got, I had a league where I've been going back and forth between Jose Trevino and Austin Wells, kind of trying to time it right based on the handedness of pitchers. It has not worked out well. Neither one has done anything. Trevino had a couple of good weeks in there when I didn't have him. But I thought Davis was a pretty important ad. If he, maybe it's a one-time through, didn't work, and this time through, he only hit 213 last year at 255 plate appearances. But, obviously the upside is there. Could run a little bit too. I thought Davis was pretty interesting. Considering catcher eligibility tonight.
I was looking for leagues to add him, and I couldn't. I think most people held on to him in the leagues I'm in.
I think a lot of people added him last week too. There was a lot of buzz about trying to get him cheap last week. Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm sitting there with Bo Naylor and I'm like, okay.
Still hanging with Bo?
I tried to replace him in leagues this week.
I think he only had like 8 at bats this week, right?
Yeah, it's tough. It's
when I looked, he's available in one of my leagues, and I always sort by at bats for the last 7 days. I think he had 8 at bats. That's rough there. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because I picked up Alvarez last week to stash, so I couldn't really do much with Henry Davis this week because I don't want an extra catcher. I'd have a small bit in there, but with Alvarez coming back. But Davis should be interesting. How much do you think they're going to play Davis?
I think you don't call him up and not play him. I think they're going to play him a lot. But
one would think. I would certainly hope so. But
because Grandal is,
Grandal.
Yeah, he's a known commodity at this point in time. Isn't Joey Bart hurt too?
I think Joey Bart's hurt. Yes.
Yeah. So Grant Koch, I don't know how you pronounce it, but
we'll go with Koch just because in honor of Billy Koch, former A's legendary closer.
There you go. But I had a chance to pick up easy lover Patrick Bailey, but I got.
I like that.
Yeah.
I would have liked that.
Yeah.
Was that in a 15-teamer?
It was in the main. He was available.
Wow, I'm surprised. Someone must have.
But we lost. We went pretty cheap on that, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So, you know what though? You can't win every player either.
No,
and
you can't.
That's the problem. But yeah, I would like to cut Bo. Unfortunately, I cannot yet because the other catchers out there. I looked at our other catchers, and they're in a 12 even. I tried to pick find people to replace them, and it's just really bad. It was like earlier attempts to replace the defective Pinto.
You just need I was gonna say, speaking of cars, you just need a DeLorean to go back 3 weeks and pick up David Fry and to solve all your problems.
Oh my goodness.
18 runs, 18 RBIs, and 18 game stretch is pretty wild from a catcher. He went crazy the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he did. We missed out on his best weeks ever, but the line drive rate supports that he's good at least. So
and everybody said last week, missed his best week ever, and then he hit a grand slam this week. He's been. I mean, he has his BABIP is insane, but he's still if you had these couple of weeks, it's worth it no matter what happens the rest of the way. But we will get fully into FAAB here in a little bit. I just kind of want to hit those 3 news items that were pretty big, and they all happened within between 5 and 7 Pacific time. So it was I was literally went and got dinner and came back. I had to figure out Torkelson moves. It was interesting. But Jeff, in real baseball, the Brewers are absolutely on fire right now. I was looking at the standings today, and in the National League, there's no race that's within 6.5 games right now. I think that our thoughts are probably the Braves might get back in at some point, but man, the Brewers are up 7 games. The Cardinals have been pretty hot. The Cubs are a mess right now. Both Chicago teams are a total mess right now. The Dodgers are up 6.5, but the Brewers, winners of 5 in a row, 8 of the last 10. They look clearly to be the class of the NL Central at the moment.
Yeah, they do. And I didn't expect them to be this dominant. I expected them to be better than what was expected. Went on VSiN before the start of the season, said take the over on the Brewers 77.5 or 78.5. But it wasn't
that looks pretty solid so far.
Yeah, and credit to VSiN, they brought me back a month later and picked pointed out that I actually said something right for the first time ever on there, so it was nice of them. That and fading the Marlins, and we don't need to go into that because apparently I dump on the Marlins too much. So we'll move on from that.
You don't think the Marlins are going to hit their over under?
That was my yeah. They might come up short. They're playing better ball now, but it's just so late, and they still can't hit lefty starters. So yeah.
2-19 against lefties, as someone tweeted us earlier today. But yeah, it's wild that all 3 races in the AL are closer. All 3 races in the AL are 4 games or fewer. Seattle leading Texas, the Guardians over the Royals. The Royals finally hitting their first little bit of a slump, although they came back late today against Matsui and scored 3 times in the 9th to win that game. But then obviously Yankees Orioles is just an awesome race.
Yeah, they are. And there's still 2/3 of the season left, Scott.
Yeah.
So,
I think this time last year we were talking about whether the Pirates were going to make the playoffs, right?
Right. Well, and I think we knew better about that still.
Yeah.
We knew the answer to that one, but at the same time, yeah, it just shows that things can not just change, but drastically change.
Did you see any of the Yankees' ninth inning today against Camilo Doval?
Woo.
Dude, they were mashing him.
Yes.
And
yes,
he's throwing like 100 they were not remotely close to being fooled. It was just laser, Soto bomb, laser. You're just like, my goodness, that team.
Stanton's double. I mean,
I know. Soto, I think Soto's swing. Soto's swing is probably my favorite swing in baseball.
It is
when he gets it, it's so nasty. He's so good. He and Judge just went crazy this week. And Judge has 2 steals today too.
Judge is just, as bad as his April was by his standards, that's how good his May was in the start of June. Apparently,
I like the Giants fans attempting to boo him this weekend. I'm like, just please stop them.
Oh yeah, that's worse than I think. I think it's slightly worse than the Jays fans booing Ohtani. I'm not quite sure.
But like Judge stayed with his team. It's not like he left your team to go. It's just It's very strange. I get it. He didn't sign with your team, but he stayed with his team. It's not like it's very weird.
It is.
We're not talking about Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City or something like that. We're talking about a guy that stayed with his team.
He didn't manufacture a way to get out of there either.
Yeah.
That's when you boo. But when you sign as a free agent somewhere else, well, hey, too bad. I mean, that's the way it goes. Sometimes boo your owner, but that's the thing is they can't. So there's no way to boo your owner the only way you boo your owner is by not showing up.
A's fans do that very well, by the way. Soto's free agent contract this offseason is going to be a fascinating experience. He's a Boras client. Boras obviously had a really bad offseason last year. It's gonna be really interesting. I assume that Soto is just such a high commodity that it won't matter what anybody does. But there's 5 or 6 teams that probably afford him. It's going to be the bidding's gonna be wild, I'm sure.
Indeed.
Yeah. Before we do jump into some other news and notes, I kind of like to do the what do we do with this guy this deep in the season? Jeff, what are you doing with Randy Arozarena right now? We're 2 months into the season. He is horrible. It's like the worst batting average in baseball. Guys who qualify. He's hitting 162 after today, 8 homers, 7 steals, only 19 RBIs. Striking out about 5% more than last year. Hard hit rate is significantly down 8%. Barrel rate's cut in half. 162 on June 2nd is a legit problem. That's 240 plate appearances of him destroying your batting average.
Do we know, is there like a physical issue for him at all? Is there I
have not read of one, but that's obviously where my mind goes to.
Yeah. I actually tried to trade for him in Tout Wars, AL only Tout Wars, but I'm a dunce. I thought the guy that had a Arozarena needed strikeouts. He does not. But I tried to offer him Luis Heel straight up for a Arozarena and it got rejected.
That's a real
real offer. I thought.
Yeah, that's not a low ball to see if he doesn't want a Arozarena. Luis Heel's obviously.
And that was before. And that was before Schmidt went on IL. So it was after Schmidt went on IL. I mean, because we knew that Heel was going to stay in the rotation because Schmidt's gone for a long time now. So even when Garrett Cole comes back, it's going to be Poteet that loses the rotation spot. There's no way they take Heel out. They're not the Marlins, for crying out loud. Oh, there I did it again. Sorry.
Just go. They're not the Rockies.
Yes, that's true. I haven't, something paste eating. Yeah, there you go. Moving on.
Yes. So let's do a few news and notes before we get to FAAB here. Blake Snell was actually looked pretty good today until I think it was the 5th that he struggled in. He was removed early on Sunday. He kind of landed weirdly. Bob Melvin after the game was like, I'd find it surprising he wasn't going on the IL. Does not sound a very good situation here.
No, it doesn't. It's frustrating dealing with that because he just can't get out of the blocks. Every time he comes back, he has something else go wrong. And
it was that left adductor, which is what he had missed 20, 30 games earlier this year too, and he re-injured it. That's you always hate it when it's something that was already there because it means it's not fully going away.
Yeah, exactly right. So
too bad because I actually thought he looked really good today. I mean, again, until the last inning, but I thought he looked really good in the first 4 innings. It kind of looked back to, maybe the Blake Snell from last year. The Giants announced that interesting stat. I guess his Blake Snell's career ERA in April, May, and June is over 4, and his career ERA in each of the months July, August, September is under 2, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I don't know. I mean, the Giants too. I mean, this is a team that the last wild card spot in the National League is crazy. I mean, there's so many good American League teams fighting for playoff spots. There are 5 winning teams in the National League. The Giants, I mean, they're They're terrible, but they're still right in it at the same time.
We're at 5 teams make the playoffs now, right? I always mix it up now. They've confused me so many times. But we are at 5 post-COVID, right? That was just the one time.
No, it's 6, right?
Is it 6? See, I always mess it up.
Yeah, because there's no buys.
Well, there's got to be 2 buys if there's 6. Right?
Well, 2 buys, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there are 2 buys.
Yeah.
I'm the bigger dunce here. What am I thinking? I know, but there are 6 though, right? Yeah.
That 6th spot right now would be a team that's under 500, correct?
Yeah, I was right about the number of teams.
You are.
And I blew it by saying no buys.
Yeah, Cubs, Giants.
If there's 6 teams, how would you play down to 3? Just
math.
Yeah, math is hard.
You got the Nationals are 4 under, the Cubs are 2 under, the Pirates are 5 under. You're right. There's gonna be a team that 6th spot is wide open. The Giants and Cubs will be tied for it right now.
Cardinals right now just took ahead with that win.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, they did with the win tonight. You're right. So they'd be the 6th.
We were mocking the Cardinals earlier, and now they're a wild card team.
Playing good ball right now.
Yeah. Don't mock the Cardinals. Don't listen to me.
Speaking of a team in the wild card race, the San Diego Padres are 2 games over 500. In that mix for sure. Lost 2 of their pitchers this weekend. Darvish went in the IL with a groin strain. Joe Musgrove on the IL with right elbow inflammation. Pretty big blow for the Padres there. Lose 2 of their guys within 3 hours of each other.
Yeah, and I heard about the Musgrove one when it came down, and then I heard about Darvish a day later because I think it was Friday, right? I was offline a lot Friday. So, I think that I missed out on some of this news that happened as it was happening.
Props to Michael Cicchini in the chat, making fun of me. Much appreciated. How many teams are in each league? I have been on Stump the Shop twice and Sports Geniuses once. Apparently I'm old now and I couldn't do anything right now. So my sports trivia is clearly in the tank. I just get confused. The COVID 5-6 thing just messed me up. So 6 teams. I got it now. Our friend Jordan Romano, Jeff, went on the 15-day IL with right elbow inflammation. Obviously a concern here, similar to Snell. This is the same issue he had early in the year where he missed a bunch of time, whatever that was, kind of spring training in the first few weeks of the season. He'd been horrible. You and I have lamented it many a time because we both have him in the main event. We both messed up last week. We should have added Yimi Garcia after we complained about Romano for a week straight. I'm worried this may. I don't think this is going to be. I know they said it's the MRI was clean. We're going to kind of shut him down for a couple days, see what happens. But I'm worried this is going to linger a little bit too.
Me too. I think. And Yimi has been so good.
Yeah.
I was hoping to see Chad Green may get a chance at that. Then he pitched the 6th inning today. I was like,
and there was a quote that was pretty much made it seem like Yimi would get most opportunities. So and he gave him a run today, but still did get the save. And that I'm sure that the Sunday save always boosts the FAAB bidding.
Yep. And he was available in a couple of my leagues, and I did not get him.
He was over $100, I think, in both my mains, and I just wasn't quite going there. But I don't begrudge it. I mean, if Romano were to linger a little bit, Yimi could be really good while he's there.
Yeah, Yimi was available in both of my Roto Online championships. One of which where he went for $204. He went for more there than he went for in both Yogurt and my other 12-teamer by a pretty wide amount.
Yeah. I saw the bidding was, I looked at it for just the main event overall. I was kind of all over the map. I think the highs were in the 200s, the lows in the 40s, 50s, but it seemed like everything was kind of in the 80 to 120 range. I'm sticking a range on there. It kind of seemed like that was kind of the sweet spot for Yimi this week.
Yeah, it was.
We talked about Royce Lewis getting called up and Edouard Julien getting sent down to AAA. Luis Robert could return on Tuesday. It sounds like his rehab's going pretty well. However, just so you know, this sounds like they're going to rest him a bunch. It sounds like he's going to take a rest day. The quote I saw was every 2 to 4 days, so maybe once a series. It's going to be a while before Robert plays every day, but obviously you've been stashing him. Getting him back in the lineup would be pretty important. Yeah,
for sure. When you got to have him available when Tommy Pham gets suspended at some point in time for deciding to fight an entire team. Hasn't happened yet. But
the best part of that whole Tommy Pham thing today, I know the quote was great afterwards, but the best part was him going to left field, shadow boxing, going to left field. He's fired up and ready to go. They didn't show it very much on Sportsnet. They showed the thing with Contreras. They showed the speech afterwards. Him shadow boxing the outfield was just freaking awesome.
Yeah. The whole highlight went on for a minute.
Yeah,
and they great. Just kept, Yeah, like I saw it on Twitter, and you got the clown White Sox announcer like, "We're not going to stand for that."
Could you believe that announcing? That was crazy.
That guy is it. That guy is.
He's like, we're not taking this from the Brewers, despite all the L's we have, or something like that. I was like, oh my God.
I don't care what the record says. We're not going to take this. And Steve Sohn's sitting there like, oh my God. The new head-to-head guy. They brought him in because they wanted someone that was like giving him unconditional love and all that. He's not just a tool; he's a power tool. I mean, he is just so bad, Scott. I mean,
I haven't listened to them very much this year. I don't watch a lot of White Sox game unless Fetty or Crochet are pitching. And I watch the other broadcast. But man, he was wild today. I couldn't believe some of the stuff he was saying.
Yeah, Hawk is professional compared to this guy. This is not Hawk. I mean, it's the TV guy. It's definitely John. It's not Schreiber, but it's some Sheffrin or something like that. Horrible. He's just horrible. This is like he's gotten to some other spats before too already, and it's just so bad.
It was really bad. That was a wild scene, and the Fam shadow boxing. It was just classic. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
Couple of notes here. Michael Wacha, speaking of the AL Central, 15-day IL with a fracture in his left foot. Vaughn Grissom went on the 10-day IL with a hamstring. Vaughn Grissom seems to always be hurt. Speaking of the White Sox, Andrew Benintendi on the 10-day IL. I don't think anybody in fantasy world cares about that. If you still have Benintendi, there's a bigger problem there. I think probably the biggest injury note from the weekend was Ranger Suarez was okay after getting hit by the comebacker. He's been, we talked about him many times this season. He was leading pitchers in earned value on the RotoWire calculator. He's been awesome. All the wins have been huge, but it sounded like his swelling was improved today. His X-rays are clean. Sounds like Suarez maybe bumped back a couple of days, but avoided a serious injury, which is great.
Well, and we got to talk schedule here for a second there, because this was going to be a really problematic situation. The Phillies play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're off Thursday and Friday because they're going to London.
Yep.
And they're playing the Mets in London on Saturday and Sunday. Suarez isn't scheduled to pitch until the weekend. So, I mean, you really needed that update today to really, set your lineup properly this week, because you're obviously. And even still, like I kind of want to wait till a throw day to make a decision, but I don't think I'm going to have that luxury. I think
I'd probably sit him this week.
I think so too.
Based on the fact that the London Park, how the London Park plays too, it plays like a very much a hitter's park. I'd probably just if I had a decent option, I'd probably just sit him this week with the thought that maybe they just push him back and not deal with it. Make sure he gets. And there still was significant swelling. It was significantly down. That means there was significant swelling. I'd probably just sit him if I could this week.
Yeah. I would too. And the thing is, it's tough to make that decision without just full information there. And but that's our game.
Yep. A couple of middle infielders who missed the weekend after different body parts. CJ Abrams jammed his left shoulder. Tyro Estrada jammed his thumb on Friday. It sounds like both of them are okay, but obviously you want to check those lineups tomorrow. The Giants play at Arizona. Washington plays against the Mets, so both those teams do play tomorrow, which is helpful. And a couple of rehab notes real quick. Bobby Miller will need in the rehab start later this week. It sounded like his velocity was down in the last rehab start. He only threw 65 pitches. So that if you had thoughts of playing him this week against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, he will not be starting this week. And also Garrett Cole, speaking of the Yankees, making his first rehab start on Tuesday in AA. Seems like he is progressing at a good rate. You just hope for no setbacks and hope maybe 3 rehab starts, maybe something like that. We get him in New York.
Yeah. And the whole Bobby Miller experience tells us to kind of like, don't make some of these moves in anticipation, because things happen like this. They're like, oh well, I guess we need another rehab assignment or 2. We may need another one on top of that with Bobby Miller too. It's only like a prized commodity for the Dodgers. They really have to kind of be extra careful with Miller. So
and they have zero reason to push him. I mean,
right.
They're going to make the playoffs. They're smart. Yeah, they're not going to push him. All right, well, let's jump into FAAB this weekend. First note from our sponsors at So Rare MLB. Have you ever dreamed of stepping into the shoes of a general manager? Welcome to So Rare MLB, a groundbreaking fantasy baseball game where you call the shots. Take charge and make your managerial mark by collecting officially licensed digital player cards of your favorite MLB stars. These aren't just any card. They're your ticket to compete for over $1 million in total cash awards and other amazing prizes. Imagine winning VIP trips to the MLB All-Star Game 2024 or getting your hands on signed merchandise from top Major League Baseball players. Here's how it works. Use your cards to set your lineup each game week. Real-world plays like hits, strikeouts, and homers will power your team's performance. Climb the leaderboards and snag weekly wins, from cash prizes to more cards and unforgettable experiences. But there's more. Build an iconic collection of your favorite teams and players to unlock gameplay bonuses and exclusive rewards. The rarer the card, the higher your score, and the bigger your edge in competitions. And when you're ready to trade, the SoRare Marketplace offers a vibrant community of managers. Engage in live auctions, make instant buys, or trade cards peer-to-peer. Starting is absolutely free. Draft your first team of common cards today and feel the thrill of competition as you climb the ranks to baseball mastery. What are you waiting for? Join SoRare MLB today. Transfer your passion for baseball into a quest for glory and get rewarded for your baseball savvy. Sign up today with the link in the description and get 50% off your first pro cards up to $50. It's your passion rewarded at SoRare MLB. So, Jeff, I want to start with starting pitching this week. We usually start with offense, but I thought there were a couple of interesting starter names this week, so we'll flip it around a little bit. Spencer Schwellenbach in Atlanta was called up. Looked pretty good in his first starts. Seemed like he throws a number of pitches pretty well. Were you intrigued by Schwellenbach? Obviously, the theory, plays for the Braves, going to get some runs, good chance for wins. How'd you feel about this rookie getting called up?
I'm interested, but I didn't get him. And part of the reason is he faces the Red Sox in Boston and Baltimore in his next two starts. So
I know I saw that too. I'm like, I was going to suck him and add him and not be able to use him.
Yeah, and I dialed down my bids. It wasn't like I was staying away from him, but there were the other better choices usually in my leagues where I had a chance to go after him there. For instance, and we're going to talk about it, but I got Jake Irwin, Irvin from the Nats, who I think is a better spot right now. I think long-term Schwellenbach could be very interesting, or he could be back down in the minors after two starts too. That's kind of the thing that's really kind of scary about him too. Because the Braves have been trying to fill this fifth starter spot all season long, and I think they'll keep churning if they're unhappy with the results because he's only had 2 AA starts so far.
Yeah, and they have Ray Kerr also, who's been up a little bit, made a start, been in the bullpen, but he's if you look at his stuff, it's really interesting. Kerr, it's a weird problem. He's 29, so he's not a prospect, but he's striking out a ton of guys. 70% strikeout rate into 17 innings. He only made 2 starts, so I get some of that as relief innings, but he's a guy that has a lot of swing and miss in his pitches, and could be really interesting if they manage to find him a spot too.
Yeah, I did notice though Schwellenbach also was a guy that kind of got ahead of some batters that couldn't put him all away. And that's kind of what happened against Lane Thomas with the 3-run homer. Wasn't a bad outing. I was impressed. I think he's better than the other guys who've been trotting out so far.
Yeah, I was impressed. I like prospects that don't walk guys, and he's have a pretty good walk rate in the minors. Then you put him on the Braves. He had a lot of swing and miss in the minors. I was intrigued. I was kind of in the 30 to 40 range, so didn't get him in the main event, but got him in my auction league, the 15-teamer there. So I was in on him, but I guess not fully in if I didn't win him in 2 out of 3 spots. But I think he's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think he is too.
What about other pitchers here? You mentioned Jake Irvin. He was 84% rostered in the main event, so you were one of the 16% that had him. But he's only 8% in 12-teamers. I think Irvin's put himself in a spot where he's actually picking him in 12-teamers also.
Yeah, he looked really good today against the Guardians, which tough team and tough ballpark as it turns out so far this year, which is not something I thought I'd be saying at this point in the year. But and he's kind of one of the main, the guys on the Nats that have done really well to kind of improve over what we would have thought that we were going to get from the Nats starting rotation. More strikeouts than he was last year, a little bit, not a ton of strikeouts, but still, I like him. And I think he has 2 pretty decent starts in his next 2 starts. Obviously we missed out on a 2-start week, but he's got Atlanta this week, but the following week at Detroit. So that's what I liked a little bit there.
I was where I was bidding on him. I was doing so with the theory that I could bench him this week because I probably don't throw him against Atlanta.
See, I'm going to throw.
You throw him?
I think I might. I mean, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, you're talking a 15-teamer too. I was bidding him on 12-teamer, so a little bit different there. 15-teamer, I think you probably got to throw him.
Yeah.
And at Detroit, he's definitely a throw there. But the thing with Irvin's interesting, and we're 2 months of the season, but he's taken some really big steps up in his production, and he's strikeout rate's up a little bit, but the walk rate is more than cut in half, which is the key. I mean, the issue with him last year was the walks, which killed the whip. His whip was 1.4. It's down to 1.03 now. Swing and strike rate's up. Home runs are down. Ground balls are still really good. He hasn't been super lucky, which is good. You want to see a strand rate of 90% is 67%. So there's not really a lot of luck involved. The BABIP's maybe a little lucky, but about where he was last year. I really like the profile. He's impressed me a lot. I think that's a really nice add in a 15-teamer.
Yeah. We won him on a tight battle too, which is always nice.
Those bids are so much more fun when you're in a tight battle.
31-29. It's
lovely. When you click on the results and see those, it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah. At least you may not have got the player right, but at least you got the bid right. So there's that.
What about the other pitchers here? We had David Peterson for the Mets is going to be pitching this week against the Nationals. Joey Estes in Oakland has been a little bit interesting. He has two home starts this week against Seattle and Toronto. Both teams who have, you'd think Seattle, Toronto, you're like, pretty good teams, and you look and like not very good, especially against righties. Toronto's offense has been kind of a mess most of the year. Obviously, there's some studs there, but not teams we're shying away from. Matt Waldron, the knuckleballer in San Diego, has 2 starts a week at the Angels and home against Arizona. He was about 22% rostered in 12, is a bunch higher in the main events. But did you do anything with Peterson, Estes, Waldron? Where else were you going aside from the Schwellenbach and Jake Irvin of the world?
All waterfall bids, especially Peterson and Estes. Waldron we already roster in the main. We drafted, nice. Then we picked him back up, and dropped him, then picked him back up. But we've had him. We actually had him active last week, so that was good. Who else? James Paxton was available in our league.
I picked him up 2 weeks ago in a 15 and dropped him back. I cannot figure him out at all, so I'm hoping you can tell me what you think.
I don't know. I think he's this year's like fantasy baseball boat, as in one of the best days of your life are the day you get him, the day you drop him. And
the swing and miss is so far off, so it's crazy. He's just not striking anybody out.
Right, and he just walks too many guys too.
He walks a lot of guys, yeah.
And when a 5-0 Dodgers starter who's been in the rotation all year is available in your main event league, what does that do? They're like, you got to side eye that a little bit there.
And the ERA is 3.29, so you've used him so far, it's worked. But the WHIP's 1.4, and you look at the FIP is 5.3, the xFIP is 5.41. You have to think with the way these things usually work is you have to think there are a couple of really big blowups coming at some point. He's going to walk 5 guys and start to get up 2 home runs and have a 7 earned run game pretty quick. He'll throw a Taj Bradley at us here pretty soon.
Sorry about that. I was thinking of you on that one there.
Talk about home run prone. My gosh, guys giving up bombs. But I just think with Paxton, you're hoping for the wins. But the problem is he hasn't thrown 5 innings the last 2 starts either, which is like
no. And that was by design too.
It's great he's on the Dodgers and he can get wins, but like you got to get to the 5th inning to get through the 5th inning to get wins, and it ain't gonna work otherwise.
Nope, it will not.
Did you get him or did you not get Paxton?
No. We got Irvin. So
I didn't know if you could pick up 2 guys.
Yeah, we could, but we have such a loaded roster, Scott, for our 9th place team.
Yeah. There's too many good players. It's hard to figure it out.
We had the sad drop of the day, dropping Acuna as one of them. But
that's right. Last Sunday night we talked. He said he was gonna be out for a month, and Monday was a torn ACL. That's a brutal drop.
No, it was 7:05 was when.
That's right. It was right after you talked.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
Even
I remember.
worse.
We lamented the fact that it was right after we talked, but. Yeah, that was. I actually thought those like top 5 guys we mentioned starting pitchers are actually viable options. Where we had a lot of weeks here where like I can't find 1 or 2, and I could find 4 or 5 guys I like this week. I like Peterson. I picked up Peterson in my main event. Pretty cheap and like the teens, something in there. But I just think he's got some swing and miss. The Mets are a good team, so he's gonna have a lot of wins there. But that was obviously sarcasm. But he strikes. He had 12% swing and strike rate in 2022, 2023, and really all you gotta do is get a lead in the 9th with the Mets, and that's a win for Peterson. That's great.
Yeah, totally safe and fine. We'll get to that in a second, but
they cannot put anybody out there in the 9th inning. It's crazy.
Well, I hope they can because I got one of them in a second, and we'll talk about.
I hope it's not Jake Diekman.
It is not Jake Diekman.
Thank goodness.
Fine human being that he is, but
not a closer.
Nah, I don't think so. We did have waterfalls on Joey Estes. Speaking of plenty of copious wins, but hey, this Mariners strike out like nobody's business. So it was more about the strikeouts than the win stream.
And he's 23% strikeout rate, 7% walk rate. That's a really good K- walk right there, especially for someone you're picking up on waivers. Has struck guys out in the minors. I thought it was an intriguing arm, and pitching 2 games in a great park to pitch in never hurts the cause either.
Yeah. Need to ask you one more though. I wanted to know what you thought about the San Diego replacements. Were you in on Randy Vasquez or Johnny Brito?
I was really not. I think I drafted Brito. I kind of liked him, but I was really not. I had Vasquez earlier this year, and I was just kind of meh on him. I did not have either of them on my waterfall. I did look at them, but I did not decide to go in on them.
Yeah. By the way, hat tip to the Atlanta Braves radio announcers for their pronunciation of Johnny Brito, as in the nice. Tombstone version of that. There, they did it. They hit it like tone perfect. It was great.
Yeah, Vasquez's strikeout rate's 15%. The whip's 1.6. Like you just give him a lot of hits. I know the BABIP's high, but I just couldn't get excited about it when I looked a little bit closer.
Right. Brito hasn't been stretched out either, so you have to worry about that. I think he's got 2 starts this week, but if you're not going to get 5 innings in either start, what's the point? And actually, so you're missing out on a 2-start week, really, when you think about it there. And you're not going to get that for a long time because then they have off days. Darvish might be back, so what's the point?
Yeah, it's I was not in on either one. I probably would have leaned Brito if I had to pick one of them, but I was not in on either one.
Same.
Let's talk relievers and hitters, but first note from our sponsor at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. It is really fun when we're down to the NBA Finals. We've got only one game a night, but you can play that. You can do over-unders on a bunch of players in the game. Really make the game fun and exciting. So it's a good way to watch the NBA Finals, which should be a pretty fun matchup. Prize Picks has quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, enormous selection of players and stat types that would make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download the app today and use code ROTOPOD for a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code ROTOPOD for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's just that easy with Prize Picks. Jeff, relievers. Let's start Yimi Garcia. We kind of hit on Yimi a little bit earlier. The bidding was very popular. It sounded like neither of us got him. Do you are you worried that Romano's out long term? How do you kind of feel about the situation overall with Garcia?
I think he's going to be at least a month is my guess.
That's brutal.
Don't you think so? I mean,
I don't want to think so, but yeah. But I mean, the fact that it's fine, he just needs a couple days, but the fact that it happened already, I think 3 to 4 weeks is probably a pretty good. I'd be happy if he came back in 4 weeks. I'd be pretty happy. I assume you kept him, right?
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah. In fact, we had to cut Daniel Hudson today, and that was kind of hurtful because he's done nothing wrong. He did not deserve that. It's not you, it's me, Daniel.
Not closing. We got you a couple saves over the last 3 weeks, right?
Well, we didn't even have him active this week. I don't want to talk about the mechanics of that because I don't want to throw my partner under the bus. But
your partner's a good human, so I don't want you to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I love your partner. He's the best.
Yes, he is. He's better than me. But
we
messed that one up. And we didn't have Hudson active this past week. Missed out on a win and a save, I think. At least a win. I don't think he got a save, but then Phillips got the save this weekend, which was lovely. And I'm looking forward to having more of that action. So at least we got Phillips back. But yeah, we're holding on to Romano. It just sucks to tie up the roster spot like that.
It really does. And I was a little more aggressive in Yimi where I do have Romano, which is obviously, if Romano has a setback or something, you've got Yimi in there. It's really nice to kind of have that. But Uncle Chad in the chat said, who says David or Chad Green won't close?
The Jay pitched him in the 6th inning today.
He did get a couple saves earlier, but actually the manager said Yimi Garcia would likely be the first closing option. Chad Green could get some looks too, but it sounds like Yimi is at least the higher guy in that committee. So Chad Green probably gets some saves here and there, but it seems like it does seem like Yimi's the first closing option. That's directly from the manager. That's from the Blue Jays beat writer yesterday. So,
yep.
What about the Mets? We talked last week about how Edwin Diaz was struggling and not good. Maybe he was going to be out of that role. And now this week he went on the IL. Did you do anything with Reed Garrett, Adam Ottavino, anybody else in this mess of a Mets bullpen?
I did. We got Reed Garrett. And today was a good reason to kind of illustrate why too. Reed Garrett pitched, struck out the side in his inning of work. And obviously Diekman blew the save in the 9th. Garrett pitched the 7th today, which is annoying, but that actually helped keep the bids down is the way I looked at it. I thought that was kind of a blessing. He did get a save on Thursday, did give up the 2 homers on Friday, a non-save situation though. Just remember that it was messed up first going into that. I'm still thinking that Garrett is the best of those pitchers. I think Ottavino's had too many bad outings lately to kind of go towards him. So that's the way I'm leaning at this point in time.
I think your point, the best point there is that Reed Garrett's the best pitcher in this mix. I do agree with that. I had him ahead of Ottavino in my bids, although I got Ottavino just because I got outbid on Reed Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to split a decent amount. I would go probably 60-40 Garrett, something like that. But I do think Garrett's the better pitcher. That's who I wanted more. Maybe they go with the veteran save kind of thing, but I just, it's going to be messy. But Reed Garrett could get 2 or 3 saves and kind of run with him for a little bit. We don't know fully how long Diaz is out yet for, but I preferred Garrett also.
Yeah. And yeah, he did pitch, as I acknowledged, he did pitch the 7th today. So it's not a sure thing. But still, we really can't afford to be too picky about it. We had to go get somebody.
Yep.
And we had lost Romano. We have one closer right now, and that's not going to get it done. So
at least that closer's back.
Yeah, and we won the bid 37-35. So again,
nice.
Bidding right, if not, maybe not player selection right, but bidding was right at least.
Someone, I forget who it is, but someone keeps the efficiency rankings. You're going to be high up there this week. That's a good place to be.
It's for once I am. Yeah, I don't want long-term records pointed at me right now. Let's just leave it at that.
Fair enough. Anybody else bullpen wise? I was struggling to find anybody I was interested in. The guy that's pitching really well and fun right now is Jeremiah Estrada in San Diego, who had there's 12 or 13 straight strikeouts earlier this week, which is just wild. His strikeout rate's 44%, walk rate's under 9%, swinging strike rate's 15.7%. His ERA is 0.5. His whip is 0.7. He's been awesome, but Robert Suarez has a million saves and has been really good. Has not blown. I think he's 17 for 17. I might be off 1 or 2 on the number, but I think it's around there. He's been fantastic. So we're not going to get saves from Estrada. It would take a Suarez injury or, a meltdown over 2 or 3 weeks for him to lose that job. But if you are looking for a ninth pitcher, you don't like your starting pitcher match this week, you have someone hurt. I think Estrada is somebody you can throw in there as your ninth pitcher and get some strikeouts and good ratios too.
That's exactly right. And I think that's a good way to approach that there. I think that he's ideal for that. And I think you're going to see him get even more work with the 2 starters out, that you might see him sneak in some wins because of this. So you don't even have to, have him go get stretched out to get those wins. You might get him anyhow.
He was a starter really early in his minor league career, a couple starts.
Yeah, and didn't he break a few times? And
yeah.
I think he's better as a max effort sort of guy.
Yeah, he hasn't started a game since A-ball in 2021. I don't think they're going to just suddenly throw him in the rotation to stretch him out. But I think you're right. You can get some 2 or 3 inning stints, which would be huge for a guy like that. You're getting 8, 9 strikeouts in a week. That'd be pretty big.
Yep.
What about hitters this week, Jeff? I'll start with Matt Vierling, who was taken in most 15-teamers, but only 10% rostered in 12-teamers. He kind of falls in the Jake Irvin thing for me this week. He was a 15-teamer for a few weeks, and I think Vierling's probably worth it at 12-teamer now. He's playing every day, leading off a bunch for Detroit. He had, I think, 4 homers over the last about 10 days. He had 2 homers on last Sunday and another couple in the doubleheader on Monday. Playing really well. He's always been someone that we have picked up and added and dropped for many years. But I like what I see from Vierling right now. Third base outfield eligibility is really nice too.
It is. He was our top hitting target in the main. We lost out on him 46-29. I think someone else even bid 35. So or someone bid 41. First place was 69. I think I did get Vierling elsewhere though. I got to double check. Vierling and Vientos. Those are the 2 guys I was after the most. So I just kept on searching VIE. And that seemed, that was a very scientific approach.
It works well though. Real quick before we get to get hitters, there was a good question in the chat. Someone asked about Ben Joyce from the Angels getting called up from AA. Any chance he takes over for Carlos Estevez? I didn't really go too deep into Joyce today because we could not pick him up in the NFBC. He was not available yet because he hadn't pitched yet this year. But I tell you what, it's a fun arm. I mean, we've seen Mason Miller with a lot of heat do a lot of good stuff this year. Do you think they give Joyce a chance here pretty quick, or how do you think they kind of work out this bullpen situation?
By the way, I got to point out a funny take from Sarah Sanchez about Estrada there. It's not like they need bullpen help. Oops.
That is true.
Gallows humor is the best type of humor, I think. But
someone posted his baseball card or something today from the Cubs as a shot at the Cubs for letting him get DFA. That's a wild arm to let go because he's looked awesome.
Yeah. So going back to your question on Joyce, before the problem was always seemingly the control, right? Throws. He's a very hard throwing human. But there's a reason why he was back down in AA this year after getting his cup of coffee with the Angels in last year and pitching in 12 games. Better this year, not great walk rate, but an insane strikeout rate, 34 Ks in 19 innings. He can miss bats. The problem is he can also miss strike zones and catcher's mitts. And I think big league hitters will do a better job of laying off that stuff too. Yeah.
But then you look over, you see the 24% swing strike rate. It's pretty interesting, pretty quick. The Angels are so bad. I just wonder maybe if they're last 2 months of the season, let's see what we got here, see if he can close with the thought that he can close next year. But definitely keeping an eye on it. Obviously, he was only pitching in AA this year. But man, he was swinging mitts. And if nothing else, when he comes in the game, flip the Angels game on because he is really fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're already kind of doing some spec bids on Luis Garcia though already too. So he's kind of he got off to a terrible start, has been better lately. Really better lately. In fact, the last 60 days, Luis Garcia 296.086. So he really got hit early on. He still got a 103 whip.
Yep. So back to hitters, you mentioned Vierling, Mark Vientos, the other VIE guy. I was definitely in on him too. The Mets sent Brett Beatty down to AAA along with Christian Scott.
Yeah.
The Christian Scott news was, you mentioned the London series. They were going to have a bunch of off days. I think they were kind of it was a way to limit his innings, but also it was a good spot for him to not have to take all the days off and get a little break here.
And with Peterson back, they had 6 starters. So
yeah, that's true.
So it might that there's a little bit of a warning that you may not come back immediately after the London series. Just something to watch out for there.
Yeah. So someone mentioned the chat. They're in my OC, and they got Vientos for 58 against 53. I was not the 53, and I did cut Abraham Toro. I was over that production. There was just nothing there. He was leading off, but not doing anything else. But Vientos is interesting. I mean, a lot of power in the minors. 24 home runs in AAA and 427 plate appearances. 16 last year, only 61 games. Got called up and showed some pop. He had 9 home runs in 65 games with the Mets, but only hit 211. A lot of strikeouts. It's a small sample so far this year, only 57 plate appearances. I didn't count what he had today. He had 61 plate appearances, but the strikeout rate's only 21% right now. And he has, what does he have? He has 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 9 runs already. I just think in a season where it's been hard to find corners that are impact bats, he's someone that may not be, but could be. And that's really important to me. I was definitely all over him this week.
Yeah, me too. I did get Vientos. I did not get Vierling. I noticed, but I would be happy. I did get Vierling elsewhere. I think like in the middle of the week in another league. So yeah.
Is that the league we're in? When I still don't know when the FAAB bidding is.
Actually, I don't know. I don't think it was that league. I got him somewhere.
Hoping by the end of the year to figure out what night FAAB is.
It's Wednesday night and Sunday night, so you still have time for the Sunday night one. That's my little service.
I did put moves in for this one, but I forgot the Wednesday one.
I think I've maybe once put in bids midweek. I'm with you on that one there. Midweek,
I wish it was the Jeff Erickson. My team is so strong, I don't need ads, but it's definitely not that.
Oh, it's my team is not that strong in that league either. Yeah. But that's right.
What about Pete Crow-Armstrong coming back up for the Cubs? Seems like he's going to play center field a bunch. Were you back in on PCA with his second time up this year?
I mean, he had that awesome bat flip in the minors where he got thrown at twice by a 10-year major league veteran who was somehow slumming in the minors still. So that alone gave me reason to bid on him because there's some swag to it. No, just kidding. But it was awesome. I don't know if you've seen that, but
I did.
Okay. He does run. Yep. He's going to play a lot of center field, maybe not every day, but they didn't call him up to sit. So, I mean, I was interested. I did not.
I was too. He was 14-27 in 73 double A games last year. And then you take the look at the AAA too. He ended up with 20 home runs and 37 stolen bases. I'm doing the math real quick. Like he was really good in the minors last year for fantasy stats.
Yeah. And if you want more on PCA, just ask our friend of the pod, Sarah Sanchez, because she knows all things Cubs. Yeah. And she'll tell you what to expect on that. But yes, I was interested.
There were a couple of veterans in the mix this week too, both in kind of the 50% rostered area in main event. Andrew McCutchen, who's has a ton of barrels, believe it or not. His barrel rate's really good this year. And Miguel Andujar in Oakland. He's hitting second, third, fourth, somewhere in the top half of that lineup. Had a really good week too. I was kind of in on both those guys. Not huge bids, but I think both are serviceable players right now, especially in a 15-teamer.
I agree. Just the position is the problem with McCutchen. The lack thereof is the thing there. But other than that, yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it now. He's got a 15% barrel rate. He's never had above a 9% barrel rate in his career, which is kind of crazy. I know we're only through 2 months, but he's smoking the ball. The strikeouts are up a little bit, but 8 home runs. Could definitely do worse there. What about in Boston? Vaughn Grissom went on the IL. David Hamilton's playing a lot. If you stolen bases, we talked about Hamilton probably last month or about a month ago when he was up before. Do you think Hamilton, 57 stolen bases last year in AAA? This is someone that if he does get some playing time, could run a ton.
Yeah, absolutely. Hamilton was already playing more even before the Grissom injury because he was playing shortstop. They're starting to play Rafaela back in the outfield.
Speaking of which, can he play center field?
Oh, he is. He's ridiculous.
That catch he had yesterday was bonkers.
Yeah. So once again, I advise you to take your shot with Hamilton if he's available.
Oh, Jeff, I got that one. I got that one at least.
I snuck another one in on you earlier there too.
Oh, I totally missed. It was a Hamilton one or something?
No,
else?
no, not a Hamilton one. It was nothing that
probably
cultured.
some 1972.
No, it was what was it that I snuck in on you there? It was beautiful, but great. Jeff's self-referential greatest hits there. This is good pod right here. But we'll move on. I'll come back.
Other hitters. By the way, I do think Hamilton, if you need steals, is a prime target. I think that just playing time, he's already got 9 steals and 100 plate appearances. Could be one of those guys that if he can get on base is the key. He could really run wild though. What about other bats? Brett Wisely's playing a bunch of San Francisco. Corey Yulks is playing, hitting top of the lineup for the White Sox. They need bats, obviously. Ji-Wan Bae is playing against righties in Pittsburgh. Seth Brown's playing against righties in Oakland. Was there anybody else down in this grab bag down here that you thought was remotely interesting or worthy of more than a couple bucks?
I mean, this is the all politics are local section of the podcast here.
For sure.
Do you have a need at that position? Find someone who's playing and maybe you'll get lucky, sort of thing, like Emmanuel Valdez. If you need a second baseman, we were talking about the Hamilton possibility. Well, Valdez is the guy that's playing second now.
Had two homers yesterday.
Yeah, so it could happen there. Is it Yulks or Julks? I wasn't sure. Every time I see him and his name, I think of the skeptical Cop and Dexter in the first couple of seasons. Wasn't he a Julks or, I forget. Anyways, but he's had a nice little run in the last 2 weeks. He's had like a 400 on base percentage, so it's looked pretty good.
I was looking. There's a YouTube video about him saying how to say it, but obviously I can't play it right now. So you'll look to try and figure it out real quick. But it looks like Yelks to me, but you could be right. I don't. I admit that I don't know that. Usually I know these.
Pronounced according to Timothy Thomas.
All right, so Corey Julks. I appreciate the correction there. That's good. I hate when I miss anybody's name. What about in Yankee land? Last guy I want to ask you about an offense. Any interest in DJ LeMahieu? Off the IL, first and third eligibility. We talked about how tough corner is. Seems to be playing a decent amount for New York. Obviously, a really great lineup. Always hitting down it. He's hitting. I think he's hitting ninth his first few games back. But any interest in LeMahieu? Obviously, he's been pretty meager for the Yankees the last couple of years.
He has, and that was a sneaky bad contract that they gave him. Dude,
he still has like 2 or 3 more years.
Yeah,
at $15 million a pop. It's a really bad one.
They did so well to get him on a real time the first time around, and then they made the mistake of saying, "Oh, this is totally sustainable," and then they keep on happening. No, just take your profit and run. But because players do get old.
They certainly do, and he kind of looks like that might be the case. He's 35 now, but he's hitting ninth. He hit ninth 3 games, then 6 1 game, and then sat today. He was down my waterfall, but I was in on Eleris Montero with the games in Coors this week, and in Gio Urshela with the falling into more playing time. Maybe
Urshela was in our waterfall too
with Torkelson out. He's first, third eligible also. Someone had asked in the chat about Justin Malloy. We did talk about him earlier. We talked about Torkelson getting sent down. So if you go back and listen to the first few minutes, we did talk about Malloy a decent amount. He was not available in NFBC leagues, but we did talk about him, obviously, for people in any other kind of leagues too. Other than that, Jeff, a few players I'm going to ask you before we jump out of here. We talked about Randy Arozarena earlier. Not as bad, but Austin Riley has been a mess this year. He's got I think it's 19 RBIs on the season. I don't know if forget if he had one today. Nope, yes, 19 RBIs. He's hitting 234 after today. 10% barrel rates down. This is a guy who's been a monster and just 3 home runs so far. I know he had the oblique issue. We missed a couple of weeks, but he's got 188 plate appearances. He has 3 home runs. It's pretty hard to imagine that.
I would treat him just as I would treat Arozarena and try to buy him right now.
Okay.
Try to trade for him.
I would be much more likely to buy him than Arozarena because I don't see
anything.
I don't see anything really different in his profile. The barrel rate's down a little bit. Hard hit's still the same. Ks and walks are the same. I just think you got to stick with this one or buy him low. I would do the same.
Yeah. I agree with both points there. I definitely agree that I trust Riley more than I do Arozarena, but I just think these are all the guys you need to be trading for right now.
What do you think about on the kind of the flip side of that? Someone who's do you think is sell high right now? Garrett Crochet in Chicago was awesome his first couple starts. Then he got pounded for a couple starts. Since May 1st, he is third in baseball with 46 strikeouts. He has a 1.03 ERA. He actually has 5 wins for the White Sox, which seems almost impossible, but he does have 5 wins for the White Sox, which is probably the most impressive part of his entire profile, having 5 of their wins. Do you think Crochet is a hold, or would you try and sell him high if you had him in a league you could trade?
I might buy high.
I like that even more.
Well, I think if the White Sox are smart, they would try to trade him right now.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because that's a commodity they could get a lot for. Yes. I mean, if you're tearing down to the studs, you tear down to the studs. And this guy is someone that can get you lots of studs in return.
Yeah.
Yet he's very risky at the same time. Seems like this is a perfect guy for himself. But meanwhile,
and
if
he's got two more years of control too, which is super appealing to anybody who traded for him.
Right. He should command a lot. And a lot of the times, like, oh, you're offering me this 34-year-old veteran pitcher who's going to be gone in 2 months anyhow and has lost 2 miles an hour in his fastball, but he might work for you because you're smarter than we are and you could get him to work. No, I mean, that's not the case here. Crochet is like at the peak of his powers, but the White Sox aren't going to win next year. They're not going to win in 2026. They could get a ton for him. And I want him on another team too, by the way.
I like that thought. I've not really thought that through. Usually with guys who aren't free agents or a year to cut, I hadn't thought about that. But that's a really good point. And man, him on a really good team would be a lot of fun. 14% swinging strike rate. His strikeout rate's 34% for a starter. That's crazy high. He's just been awesome. He had those couple of bad starts. I think it was against at Philly, so kind of okay there. Then he had Cincy and Minnesota. He get 5, 7, and 5 runs. Aside from those 2 starts, he hasn't gotten more than 2 in a start all year. Just had those 3 in a row where he struggled, and since then he's been electric.
And that Cincy start wasn't even that bad. I watched every pitch of that one there because it was Nick Lodolo's debut. And
that's right.
One of those where they had one big inning basically, and then he got all sorts of swing and miss in that game too.
The one big inning really sucks. Brandon Pfaadt had that today. He pitched really well, and then they had the one inning against the Mets where they had back-to-back triples on him. JD Martinez had a triple somehow, and someone else in there. But you have 4 runs real quick, and makes the line look bad. But other than that, he pitched really well. Those are always frustrating innings. Yeah. Speaking of the Reds, the guy that's always polarizing this year is Elly De La Cruz. There was a lot of after the first month, there was a lot of I told you he'd be the greatest player ever, and now we've got a lot of people on the other side of like I told you had to wait for him. 198, leading Major League Baseball in strikeouts with 42 since May 1st. It's just kind of what we're going to get with De La Cruz. We're going to have hot streaks. We're going to have ups and downs, kind of what you get. He's got 32 stolen bases. Obviously, he's been massive despite the batting averages was 238. What do you kind of see for him the next 4 months? Are we just going to be kind of a roller coaster of insane hot streaks and insane low streaks too?
Yeah, I kind of think this is him. And you saw it in person a little bit there. Well, you saw his best game.
I saw his 4 stolen base game live at Dodger Stadium. It was fun.
Yeah. And after that, he said something like, I own Los Angeles. And since then, he hasn't had like more than a hit in a game. And it's been tough. And he's just not hitting. He's not driving the ball. He's just not getting the power. And that's the thing that really scares me.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's funny that you think the home runs would be there. Also, he's got 9 home runs. It's not bad there, but he's not. I don't think he has 1 this month, something like that. He has 1. Yeah, he has 1 home run in May since May 1st. It's just, but I think you're right. I think it's going to be ups and downs. I think it's going to be streaky. With that level of swing and miss, he's going to have some periods where he's down. Would you try and see if somebody wanted to sell him low? I doubt anybody wants to sell Elly De La Cruz low though.
No, I doubt it. I think at one point Fred and I were talking. Would you, if you had Elly, would you take Lindor for him? And the answer was no, because you're the guy that went and got Elly. And so but the thing is, who would you rather have the rest of the way? If you're drafting again today, Yahoo friends and family. If we had another draft, would you draft Lindor or would you draft Elly first? Probably Elly still, right?
Probably Elly still. It would probably be. It wouldn't be an easy call for me. I won't use the joke that I was going to use because it's too painful to use it against you. I know who else I'd take instead, but I'd probably go.
Dude, I would have taken. I did take Gunnar Henderson before him, so it's okay.
And I had a home run and a steal today too.
Like every day, Scott.
He's massive.
At least Lindor had a reasonably decent week. It was looking like I wouldn't though. Lindor. So check out our week. We lost Acuna on Sunday for the season. We got Lindor, Alonso, and Westberg all got hit on the hand by pitches. Yep. We lost Romano. We even we had the unfortunate start that I won't even name the pitcher that we started ahead of Hudson and Phillips, but let's just say he got sent down after his first start and was scheduled to have 2, and maybe you can do some the deduction from there. But it was just one of those and yet all the players that stayed healthy actually had a pretty decent week. It was weird. So keep fighting is my point here. There was
always keep fighting. There are times where I'm like, I just can't fight anymore with this, but you always got to keep fighting. I looked usually after 2 months, I do kind of a deep dive on all my teams, and one of my main events is actually a pretty good spot. It's in 9th place, but like 10th place is like 15 points behind me, and 4th place is like 7 points ahead of me. So like there, and I have like I think like 16 points that are like really close, like a good like 3 days could get like. So you got to always look at where can you gain, where can you lose. And I did that today. I usually do that after 2 months. So I feel a little bit better of that team. The other one, being buried in wins and saves is a really tough combo because you can't play 4 closers, you can't play 9 starters, try and catch up one of them. You need both of them. So it's
right.
It's really tough there. But I think it's always good to kind of take a look. There is as Paul says in the chat, there's so much time left. We're only through a third of the season. We forget how long this season is. When you get in the middle of July, you realize how the dog days you realize are very, very real in baseball. So
my other unfortunate thing is we're now like, if there ever is a FAAB-palooza, I don't see one coming, but if there is one, we're not going to win it because we got like 400 something in FAAB left.
I don't think there's one coming.
Yeah, I don't see an obvious one coming. But then again, life can change quickly in 6 weeks.
Who's the pitcher on the Orioles? Povich, is that the guy?
Yep. Cade Povich. Yeah.
He could be a pretty a bank breaker if he gets called up.
Watch what the Orioles do because they just lost Means and Wells for the season this week.
Yeah, they've got spots.
In the IL. Yeah,
I know Albert Suarez has been good. Cole Irvin's been good, but for a team that's that good, they do have some spots where he could move. If they wanted to do it, they could do it pretty easily.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned in the chat, Jackson Jobe in Detroit too could be someone. So there's a few guys out there, but you get some, someone gets hurt, someone's sets in their spot. There's a lot of ways to do it, but it's not like they've got the 4 or 5 guys who are minor league guys we're just waiting on right now either.
Yeah.
Last guy I wanted to talk about real quick before we jump out of here. Jurickson Profar has had an insane year. I think we may have talked about him quickly last week, but he's hitting 325. He's 3rd in baseball in batting average among qualified hitters. He has 34 runs and 38 RBIs, puts him top 25 in both those. So he's top 25 in 3 of the 5 categories we play with. He has had an insanely good year for someone that was a complete afterthought on draft day.
Yeah. A pickup in some leagues.
Yeah.
In 15ers, and 12's absolutely a pickup. And yet the funny thing too is, people, if you try to trade him, if you're the guy that has him, you try to trade him right now, good luck. Yeah. You're not, no one's going to believe you.
That's a hold because no one's paying the right price for him.
Yep. Right. And so you just have to keep rolling with it there.
And he's got 8 homers too. So it's not like he's totally dead in power. I know he only has 3 steals, but man, what an incredible year. He's walking almost as much as he's striking out. I mean, it's career high and hard hit rate. It's been really fun to watch. I mean, this is a guy that was the number 1 prospect in baseball. What was that 12 years ago, 10 years ago, whenever he was like 19? I mean, he was the guy. It's fun to see. And I know he's had some flashes there. He had a good year with Oakland, a good year with Texas, but this is obviously the best year he's had so far. It's been really fun to watch.
It has. It really has. And I did get him, I think, in mixed labor, which is still a terrible team, but at least I got one good pickup there. But it is only because he had a Coors Field series coming. But the funny thing about him too is he was in Coors Field all the year last year, and he's better as a Padre. So weird.
And he's hitting 3rd every night in a lineup that's got good guys in the lineup. So it's not like he's hitting 3rd for the White Sox. It's been fun to watch. He's been really, really great. I was a little surprised when I looked how great he's been when I looked a little bit earlier today, though.
Yeah. By the way, Noelvi Marte might be a nice pickup because remember, most main events drafted after the suspension, so we went undrafted in a lot of leagues. So that might be a big bid.
Is he? So he had 80 games, so he's probably like
June 27th.
June 27th. It's almost like you knew the date.
Yeah, almost. And I not that I tried to stash him or anything in any of my leagues today or anything.
And he can play. He can play in the minors before the suspension's done. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah.
So he can ramp it up and be ready when he's ready.
Yeah, he's down at the Red Spring Training Complex. I think right now. I think there's a certain time frame when you could start doing it.
Yeah, but with the Reds crowded infield, will he ever get any playing time?
Yeah. Jerk.
That was the preseason thing. Was the Reds had too many good players?
I know.
So funny how that works fast.
Yeah.
But cool. Jeff, anything else on your mind? Anything else you want to talk about before we jump out of here?
Just my Sirius XM co-host Nick Whalen's still out this week. So if you want to hear the inventor of the waterfall, James Anderson will be co-hosting with me tomorrow morning. So should be fun.
Also, like greatest prospect guy ever too. So like maybe he invented the waterfall too, but also awesome in prospects. So you listen to him for that reason too. He's awesome. I love James.
Indeed. So we'll talk a lot more Malloy there for someone who knows what they're talking about.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, definitely not us. So that's a good thing to have somebody that does. But appreciate everybody listening. The chat was crazy firing. I couldn't answer all the questions there. Sorry about that, but there was a lot of fun stuff in there. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody listening. If you're listening to the audio version, we really obviously appreciate that. If you could rate and review the podcast, that'd be great. Also, thanks to Prize Picks for the sponsorship against that code for Prize Picks is Rotopod, ROTOPOD. Other than that, we'll be back at you next Sunday. I think Jeff will be out, but I will be here with a co-host. There'll be a surprise co-host. I don't know who it's going to be yet, but it'll be someone good, I'm sure. But if you want to follow Jeff on Twitter, at Jeff_Erickson, I am at Scott Jenstad, talking a lot of baseball there. Hope everybody has a really good week and a really good fantasy week, and take care.